And welcome back, everybody, to a very exciting episode of the TV show. I'm Jay Black, joined as always by the lovely Rhea Hughes. How are you, Rhea?
Oh, great. How are you?
And the very there, Angelo Cataldi. Angelo, how are you, my friend?
Very well rested. I'm retired. I don't know if you heard. Great.
I actually
Love it.
got 8 hours of sleep last night, which is so
Wow.
rare for me.
Nine.
I,
Minimum nine.
I feel like a
I hate both
Superman.
of you.
Well, all right, you know what, Rhea? That's a good point. Let's start with hatred because
Okay.
I had an interesting experience this week where I watched something that I loved about a subject that I hated. And I think Angela and I both talked about it, off the pod. We were texting each other. Vince McMahon had a documentary made about him for Netflix. And it's an interesting backstory in the sense that they were making this documentary and allegations came out while they were making the documentary that sort of underscored all of this stuff. I mean, it was like a perfect life imitating art kind of thing where it's like, here's the exclamation point on the history of this sociopath's life. Angelo, first, what do you think of the documentary? And second, what are your thoughts on Mr. McMahon?
It's really a remarkable six-part documentary on the man who created professional wrestling in the modern era. And I got to tell you, this is fascinating because there are really a lot of Mr. McMahons. There's the guy who agrees to the documentary is not Vince McMahon we've ever seen before. He's fairly humble. He's open. He's admitting the things he did wrong. I'm actually starting not to despise him for a while. You
Yeah.
know? Then Mr. McMahon comes along, this character he created and made famous in the World Wrestling Entertainment, these big WrestleManias they do. And when I watched that, I went, which is it? Which is the real guy? One guy is a businessman willing to give up his life, use everything in his private life as themes on the wrestling shows. And then the allegations come out, and you kind of realize, I guess he really was Mr. McMahon. It is absolutely a fascinating look at a very complicated star celebrity. I loved it. I thought it was amazing.
Rhea, did you see the documentary? And if you, either way, if you did or you
Yeah.
didn't, what is your relationship with wrestling? Did you ever watch it? Because it has a storied history on TV, right? I mean, it's been around
I,
forever.
yeah. I've never watched 6 episodes of wrestling, let alone would I watch a 6 episode series on Vince McMahon, just for a simple reason. And we'll get into it when we talk about documentaries. Like, I generally don't watch documentaries of stories I followed very recently in the news. So, Aaron Hernandez, Angelo and I lived that every day. I mean, watching a star football player being taken out of his home in handcuffs, and he never, I believe, got out of, well, maybe it was out on bail. When I live those stories, when I kind of, because I read the New York Post every day, I watch everything that's going on. When I follow, so that's, I wouldn't watch a documentary like that because I kind of feel like I know the story.
Right.
And that's
Oh,
that's
Rhea,
why
Rhea,
those kind of they don't speak to me.
you got to make an exception here. My wife, who hates wrestling, hates it, was sitting down watching it and watched the whole thing and
Wow.
said to me, I can't believe how amazing, how interesting it was. The key to a documentary, I learned this, Jay, during the making of No One Died, the new documentary coming out about wing ball. The key to a great documentary is video.
Yes.
How much video do they have? And they had I mean, come on, wrestling is constantly on television. That's what made it. They backed up everything they said with compelling video. Jay, what did you think of it?
So I'm going to say this. Number one, I think you're absolutely right. One of the things that struck me about this was that there was nothing recreated. There was nothing that was a story without video to back it up. There were 9 million hours of this guy's life that they were able to go delve into. I found, like I said at the top, it's striking to me how compelling a figure I found him, while at the same time repulsed by him. It's,
Yeah.
and without getting political, he has so wrapped up it like Donald Trump.
Right.
There's this world of both snake oil salesmen that you can't take
Yeah.
your eyes off of. One of the things I found, and this is has nothing to do with anything, but two things. One, did you notice every wrestler had a broken voice from all the
Yeah.
shouting that they did?
Yes.
Yes.
They were
Yes.
all, I mean, even Triple H there sounded like this. And secondly, I just got to say this to any man of a certain age who is dyeing their hair: never go full Groucho on your eyebrows. I just got to say, it looked like he had shoe polish
It
when he
was
was.
awful.
Yeah.
And
Who
the little
understands?
mustache, the
Oh my
little,
God.
evil, evil.
It's like he actually went into a barbershop and said, "Give me the Hitler," because he looked awful. But it was Rhea. I agree with Angelo. This is not a story that you necessarily think you care about, but the
Yeah.
documentary is so well done, it's worth checking out.
Okay.
I got one other thing I gotta get in here about pro wrestling, because I was once a real wrestling nerd fan. All right. With emphasis on the word nerd. And I
Yes.
used to watch it every Saturday afternoon on my black and white Admiral TV when I lived in Providence. And this is a true story. And I fell in love with a heel, right? A real bad guy, Killer Kowalski, who had, right? And he had the absolute ultimate weapon, the claw hold. And he would grab somebody and pinch their skin until they gave up. Ah,
Oh.
like that, right? So he meets a guy named Pepper Gomez, who has a cast iron stomach. There is no fat on his stomach at all, and they get into a feud, right? So I'm watching it, and Killer Kowalski says he wants to prove that this guy doesn't have that stomach. He's going to jump from the top of the turnbuckle
Oh.
and land on the guy's stomach, right? My father's watching this with me. I'm like 9 or 10, whatever. And Kowalski, because he's the bad guy, jumps off the turnbuckle, and instead of going on his stomach, gets him in the throat with his
Oh.
knee, right? And I go, "Oh my God." Oh, and I'm yelling. My father goes, "You know all this is fake, right?" That's how I found out that
Wow.
wrestling was entertainment,
Yeah.
not real competition. That's how far back I go. But the big fan of pro wrestling for us was Joe Wechter. He
Yeah.
loved it. He used
Yep.
to watch all those shows, Raw
Yeah.
and Nitro and all those things. But you know what? It still has a place. And this documentary is better than anything I ever saw in pro wrestling. It's brilliant. You got to see it.
There's
Please.
one last thing I gotta say, or I'll hate myself for not saying it. Hulk Hogan, what a snake.
Yeah.
Oh.
You
Oh,
found
the
out
worst.
he sold out the other
Yep.
wrestlers when they were
Oh,
trying to make a union. Are you kidding me?
horrible.
Oh, he is a
Oh,
snake and a kiss up. And I actually, for as much as I hate Vince McMahon, I respected him at least. I can't
no,
respect Hulk Hogan. My
no, I
God.
respect neither of them one bit. Thank you
No,
very much.
I,
But
I respect when I say his business acumen is
okay.
all I'm going to
All
say.
right.
I built a business, but what a snake Hulk Hogan is.
Ah,
All right, Rhea, I don't know
Yeah.
if you watch The Simpsons at all. I have
Yeah.
stopped. I know it's a cartoon. I don't know if Clark still watches it, but I heard all these rumblings about the final episode was airing.
Yeah.
And I was like, what's going on? I watch it. It's a fake out. It's a fake
Yeah.
out final episode. It's not a real final episode. I should have realized that, like 9-year-old Angelo watching wrestling. I should have realized it was a fake out.
Yes.
But it got me to thinking because at the same time I heard about this, I heard that Lorne Michaels, who has a perfect out now, it's 50th season, he's in his late 70s, passed the reins to somebody. He's saying now he might want to stick around even longer. And it got me to thinking about how The Simpsons is maybe 25 years past its sell by.
Yeah.
Lorne Michaels is still pretty much at the top of his game. I don't know
Yeah.
why he wouldn't leave. 50 years is a perfect round number. It just got me to thinking about number one, these two shows in particular, but number two, people have stuck around too long. So I ask
Yeah.
you, what do you think about that, and where do you stand on retirement?
Well, I haven't watched The Simpsons in like forever, and I did love it at one time, but I haven't watched it. When I was thinking about Lorne Michaels, I was like, he had to have been in his 20s when he started. Because I was thinking, 50 years, he's been around for the whole thing. You have to stop it. We had this conversation. You asked me recently about why I love British shows. I figured it out because we had that recommendation from one of our viewers to watch Once Upon a Time, which, through the first 5 or 6 episodes, I absolutely loved. And then I realized the other day, I went, what episode am I on? And I realized I was on episode 15, and I still have 7 more to go for the first season and 155 over 7. And I went, my brain doesn't work that way
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
So that's why, like a lot of shows, I just kind of, Blacklist. I loved Blacklist, for the first 4 years. To me, my real limit, I think shows should be limited to no more than 5 years. You run out of storylines, you run out of ways to kill off, bring back, make a good guy, a bad guy, a good guy. I think you just run. I really think a limit for a show should be 5 years and no more than 10 episodes a season. I'm realizing that now because I'm sucked into this. I'm probably going to finish the first season, but I can't watch 22 episodes in one season. I just can't.
Yeah.
I got it. Rhea, that was brilliant. Everything I've been watching lately applies to that 5-season thing. Suits was really good for 4 or 5 seasons.
Sure.
And then it went downhill. Almost every show I watch, if it goes, Dexter was an amazing show the first 4 years. And then they kind of ran out of the Simpsons. Anybody still watching it doesn't care that they must be repeating themselves. Yeah. And this thing about having a fake series finale was obviously a stunt to get more people to pay attention to them. Here's my advice for Lorne Michaels. I know how to do this because I retired myself.
Yes.
He's in his late 70s, right, Jay?
Yes.
She's buyable. You can buy her. Buy Rhea Hughes over to New York and have her keep you going for at least 5 years longer than your sell-by date. All right? Because Rhea, I knew in my late 60s I was really done. Yeah. What it becomes is, do you want to be less than what you are? Do you want to, are you willing to accept 70% of what you were at your prime? And if you are, fine, you love it, that's fine, do it. But I never wanted to do that. And she hid my deficiencies the last few years. And I was thrilled when I left, and I have not for 1 second ever regretted it. Not for 1 second. Lorne Michaels is staying too long. In fact, honestly, SNL the last couple of years, Jay, sucked. The opener this year was brutal. It was awful. It wasn't
great.
Bad.
I think they have some good
I want to mention one thing about retiring because I was really happy for this woman. And then I found out the real story like 2 days later when Hoda from NBC heard she was retiring. She adopted 2 kids very late in their life. I think they're 9 and 7, 60. She's made $20 million. And she goes, I just want to move to the suburbs, spend time. And I was like, she's 60. She's gorgeous. I'm like, what a great life. And I was so happy for the way she did it. And then 2 days later, I found out NBC had gone to her and said, you are our brand. We love you, but we want you to take a massive pay cut. And she went, I've got plenty of money. I'm going to go back and probably do other things. But I was excited when I thought she retired at 60 with her health, her looks, her beautiful children.
Yes.
And I thought, what a life she's going to have. But it was done because they wanted to cut her pay.
Right. I'll say this, 2 things. One, I think that, you got Tina Fey sitting right there. That's the rumored person. I want to see a Tina Fey Saturday Night Live. I really do. I think she's brilliant. And I think she understands the show probably as good as anybody alive. Just pass it on to her if she wants the job. And secondly, I want to make it clear, I will be doing cruise ships until I'm 107 years old. They will wheel me out like Hannibal Lecter. I'll stand and I'll whisper my act. As long as I'm getting paid at 12%, I'm there. Angelo.
That's so pathetic.
I wanted to ask, just as a follow-up from last week, because we were talking Tom Brady. Tom Brady came on with the was the announcer for the Eagles this week. I sent you an article
Yeah.
by the Bleacher Report that said that he got rave reviews, that
Right.
he has redeemed himself as a announcer, and he's going to become one of the greats. I just wanted to clear out the path and let you decide as the
Okay.
ultimate arbiter here. How was Tom Brady in your mind? Did he redeem himself?
First of all, let's start with this premise. No broadcaster in history has ever been worth 30 million a year, let alone for 12 years. All right.
Yeah.
Nobody is going to reach the point where you say, wow, he's worth that. No, he's not. He's vacuous. Do you understand? The term is mindless. He gives you nothing that you couldn't have figured out on your own. For example, it was hot in Tampa. And he pointed out that it was going to be difficult for a visiting team to come in because they don't play in those conditions all the time. Captain Obvious. I mean, everything he says, you already knew. He is the greatest player, maybe the smartest player that ever played the game. Maybe I could get a little of that. I didn't think he was that great. He had everything lined up for him. He played in Tampa. It was a good matchup between the teams, although it didn't turn out to be. He had all these insights because he had played there recently. I didn't hear it. Maybe I'm holding him to too high a standard with the 30 million. I know we've gotten some emails on it saying he's actually pretty good. Their bar is lower. They're going, if he gives me a complete sentence, I'm giving him an A. I don't hear it. Rhea, what do you think?
So this is really simple. So I obviously have to pay very close attention to it because I'm still talking about it the next day. I lasted about a quarter with him. And then I was like, I can't, for no thing. If you actually read that article, Jay, the one that he said he got rave reviews,
Yeah.
read what the rave reviews were about. They were about Tom Brady. They weren't about any insight he gave into the game. Tom
Yeah.
Brady, I felt it stressful if I wasn't winning Super Bowls, or I was going to Simon. All the embedded stuff and the whole article praising him was him talking about himself.
Yeah.
There was not one piece in that thing where they went, wow, he pointed out this and that. There was you were getting no extra insight. So that headline for that story was it was Tom Brady was great talking about himself.
It
Yeah.
would have been nice if we had seen. I mean, I think everybody thought it would be like his insight into the game would be phenomenal and better than anybody else's, and
No,
we're not seeing that
no.
at
No,
all.
not at all. Honestly, he's not as good as Romo was. Romo was really good at the beginning. He's not as good as Romo was.
No.
Romo stinks now, though. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to ask you a question.
Yes.
My wife and I were watching a show suggested by Angelo that we're going to talk about. And the lead of the show is 49 years old and looks spectacular. My wife, during the entirety of the show, an hour of the show, was researching the plastic surgery that she may or may not have gotten. Just upset, like she kept going. Do you see? I think it's Botox, and I think and I'm like, why don't you just watch the show? Is this particular to my wife, or do all women do this?
No, women do it, and I will tell you, I look at somebody, and I know who we're going to talk about, and I go, I met a woman once. She was 80 years old, and her skin was perfect. And after 10 minutes of talking to her, very, very smart, I said, do you get work done? She goes, of course I do. But I go to someone good. And I go, but I have their name for when I need it. Because when I met her, I was like 27, 28 years old. I look at women and I go, Nicole Kidman, please stop. Your face
Yes.
hasn't moved in years. You were stunning.
Yeah.
I look at Jennifer Aniston. Jennifer looked great for a long time. Then you can see she's had a little bit of work. I do that because I look at the women I know have had work. Jennifer Lopez, stunning.
Yeah.
I want her skincare. I want her plastic surgeon. I can't afford it, but I want them. If you can still make yourself, I think there's nothing wrong with it. Look, Angelo knows this. It's a nose job 25 years ago. I had a honker on me that was rivaled Angelo's. Okay. So, on a guy, you can pull it off. On a woman, you can't.
No,
so
I
I'm
never
all
pulled it
into
off.
that. But I do look at that stuff. Women, we just do.
I just was
What was the
curious.
show, Jay? You got to
That's
say.
what I'm going to turn it
Okay.
to you now. I want to
Okay.
say applaud to Angelo because he gave
Yeah.
us a recommendation that was so dead on. There's a show called High Potential,
Oh,
starring the
oh,
ageless Caitlin Olsen, who's
oh.
49. She looks 26. She looks phenomenal. But beyond that, what a
She's 49
wonderful
or 39.
49, Rhea.
That's stunning.
Yeah, whatever,
It's
whoever
beautiful. Oh,
person is, she looks
oh,
fantastic. You know her from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. She finally has a role, I think, that's going to expose her, as Angela said, as the great comic actress that she is. She has a little meat on the role. We watched it together as a family. Angela, I just want to say,
right.
great work. That was phenomenal, your choice.
Oh, thank you. But I'm going to now post this little thing here because it's Rhea's teen thing. And I
Yes.
want to get her thoughts before I tell you. I have kind of changed my opinion
Oh,
on High
wow.
Potential. So, Rhea, you watched this with Clark,
I
correct?
did. He came in. I was watching the first episode and I was enjoying it and kind of laughing. And he was kind of skirting by. And when I know he's interested in something, what he does is he kind of hovers and then he comes and sits next to me. I watch in my sunroom, which is right next to where I am right here. That's where I watch TV. He watches all his shows in the living room. When he kind of hovers and gets interested and plops down on the couch next to me, I'm like, he's interested. We laughed, we enjoyed the mystery. I'm sure it doesn't hurt that she's gorgeous and he's
He really
15 years
is.
old. So
Yeah.
I know that doesn't hurt. He thought it was really fun because he knows I watch a little bit darker murder mysteries. He enjoyed this because it is lighthearted, it is silly, but I think it's a fun story and she's a great actress.
Now, so Angela, you changed your mind. I just want to say
No, I
the thing.
didn't change my
Oh.
mind. I'm going to keep watching it as long as she keeps wearing the mini skirts. But I have now concluded that this is a classic example of a show that's a great pilot, but is not
Oh,
going to be sustainable. Every
really?
single case that she deals with, she's going to know the exact positioning of the moon when the guy was pushed off the bridge.
Yes.
I
Right.
mean, off the building. At what point is this going to get tired? If every time her brain, which she's got 160 IQ, her brain is so much quicker than everybody else's that she knows the answer. At what point is that going to get tiring?
Angela, I
But
got
it's
two
been done
words for
in other
you.
it's been done in other sitcom. I mean, sitcoms are The Mentalist.
Right.
I'm trying to think Sherlock.
I was going to
Right.
say
There's
Sherlock Holmes has been around for 140 years. It's the same
yeah.
I
thing.
don't see it happening. I'm going to get tired of it. I will not get tired of the mini skirts. I'll keep watching, but I will. I don't feel it's sustainable. It's like a one season show for me.
Well, one
Aw,
thing I can say for sure that is sustainable is our love for our
yes.
sponsor, Steven Singer, who you want to talk about 160 IQ. People with 160 IQ shop at Steven Singer. Isn't that right, Angelo?
Yes, Rhea Hughes, I have a quiz for you. What
Yes.
NFL player has 7 Super Bowl rings?
Tom Brady.
And let me tell you something, all right? Again, I'm promoting this documentary, No One Died, which is so great. It's on Wingbowl, and someday it'll be out. I'll let you know as soon as I know. Steven Singer, I'd say about 10 years into it, started doing championship rings for the Wingbowl. And here's what I think. I got to see them again when I was watching him do the documentary. His championship rings for the last 17 years, 16 years were better than the rings that they give now to people because those rings are so gaudy, so ridiculously over the top with 150 diamonds and all this other stuff. He put just the right amount of diamonds in the ring. And all these years later, I don't know where all these rings are now. I hope they got them, the guys that won them. But he had such a great way of knowing when it's too much. He knows exactly what the right thing to do is. And in a jewelry, that's very difficult.
What is he can tell, like, these guys love these rings because they were like Super Bowl rings. They were just regular ordinary people, and Steven with that ring made them feel like they were Super Bowl ringers. If you're coming in to get something, something special, not just maybe an engagement ring for your wife, your girlfriend, you come in, you tell them what that person is about, he will pick out, like, that's why they're so good, exactly the perfect piece of jewelry because he's just the best at it.
The other corner baked the walnut. I hate stevensinger.com. I guarantee you will get exactly what you need and want with an honest price.
Very nice. Thank you. And we already did our teen segment. So, Rhea,
Yeah.
what is our British segment for this week?
So this is interesting because I this is one of these shows I kept clicking around going, do I want to watch it? It's Australian. So it's called Mystery Road. It's available on Acorn, 4 seasons. What I didn't realize is there's actually two movies that kind of started this. Detective Jay Swan is played by Aaron Peterson. He starred in the original movies. But now they have a TV show. It goes 4 seasons. I believe just 5 or 6 episodes, which I love. The first episode, they're in the Australian outback, which I've told you guys before. The part of international shows that I love is scenery plays a huge part in it. You see the starkness of the outback and then the water. I mean, it's a huge part of it. But he's a detective who gets called in by Senior Sergeant Emma James, who's played by Judy Davis. You will know Judy Davis if you've seen her. She's been acting for 40 years. She was in the last, and so you know who I'm talking about. She's a great actress. She was in actually, I didn't realize this, the last movie that River Phoenix did before he died. She was in that movie. She's in a lot of Woody Allen movies, so she's a tremendous actress. The storyline is two young men go missing from a cattle station. Judy Davis, who's Sergeant Emma James, calls in Jay Swan to help her investigate. It starts really slow. I will not lie to you. The first episode, they're kind of establishing storylines, but it also deals with the indigenous people of Australia, which is a very huge part of Australia. They get it right. And I've just, from what I've read, is because 3 of the 5 writers on the team are indigenous. So I'm like learning a lot about how that whole aspect works together in Australia, which does not work as well as the races do in the United States. They have those issues. They tell a great story. You get really involved. I love it. Like I said, I'm 4 or 5 episodes in, and I really like it. I like their relationship. It's not a romantic relationship, but it's filled with tension, but a little comedy. But it's a good story. So I really am enjoying it so far.
Name and network, Rhea. Where is it?
It is called Mystery Road, available on Acorn, and it's 4 seasons.
4 seasons, but 9 episodes, the way they do it over there.
I want to say it's maybe like 6 episodes. I think it's like 6. That's kind of the standard bearer. It usually doesn't go to 9, but I'll double check that. But it's starts slow, so don't get mad at me if after the first episode you're like, I'm not really sure. Stick around for 2 or 3; it'll pick up.
Very nice. And Angelo, what do you have for us this week?
I got something really good. I really loved it. It is, I love rom-coms. I love a romantic comedy. It's very rare that there will be a romantic comedy series that is really good, but there's one on Netflix right now. It's called Nobody Wants This, starring Kristen Bell, who is stunningly beautiful. I can't get over how beautiful she is. And she gets into a relationship with a rabbi, played by Adrian Brody.
Okay.
And then she deals with, look, this is well-trodden turf, all right? She is dealing with the fact that in order to be with this guy, she has to become Jewish. Mm-hmm. And she's trying to wrestling with that thing. I got one major issue with it, and I don't know. Hopefully, I'll be able to get past it because the writing is great. It's funny. There are laugh out loud moments in it. I'm having a hard time believing she would make this commitment to Adrian Brody, who to me is not that good looking. Like she could do way better than me.
But Angelo, I just gotta say, we're kind of in a Brody-sance right now, though. Like he was a standout on Succession. He's a compelling actor. He's really good.
He's a good actor, but he's not a hunk. And she's giving her life up for this guy. And I'm going, Kristen, you can do better. Look around. There's a whole bunch of guys ready.
He's married to Dax Shepard. So, really.
He's better looking.
What's the bar?
But there's one other thing. I got to bring this up because this bugged me and I finally figured it out. Have you seen it yet, Jay?
No, I've read a bunch about it, so I have not seen it yet. But there's some controversy, I know.
There is the sister who is also beautiful. Kristen Bell's sister in it is Justin Lupet, right? And She was in the first two seasons of Succession.
Oh,
Really?
And she was somebody's girlfriend. I'm not. I can't, you. And as soon as I look, oh yeah, and she is great in it too. They're all terrific in it. It is the road goes right. 10 episodes. Saw all 10. They're only like 20 minutes a piece, 25 minutes a piece. You cannot go wrong with this. Oh, and one other thing. Pete Rose passed away since the last time we did a podcast. If you want to see the great of Pete Rose and the not great of Pete Rose, Charlie Hustle, still available on Max. It shows you why he was such a great player and why he was such a creepy human. It's all really good.
So I just want to say I have my Megalopolis review, but real fast. Somebody pointed out on Twitter that it was a lifetime ban. It was not a death time ban. So should he get into the Hall of Fame now that he's dead?
No,
Because as I
no,
told
No.
my wife keeps saying,
never.
we're going to be together in heaven. And I say, honey, it says death do us part. In
Yeah.
heaven, I'm a free agent. I can do what I
Yeah.
want in heaven, sweetie. So I'm just wondering if you can that loophole.
I wouldn't be that presumptuous about your final destination, Jay.
Well, all right. Listen, I've been talking up Megalopolis on this show for quite some time. Francis Ford Coppola spent 130 million of his own money to make this thing. And I have a pretty bad reputation as being somebody who basically likes everything he sees.
you do.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this. This is an incomprehensible slog of a movie. But you probably should go see it. The experience
No way.
being in a honestly, it was a $130 million pretentious student art film where everything is a metaphor. No human acts the way a human does. Dustin Hoffman and Jon Voight are both in it inexplicably. It is you have. I'm just going to say this. This is the best compliment I can give it. You have never seen anything like this. This thing should not exist. It's almost like when you hear about like triplets that are also conjoined at a freak show somewhere. You should go see it because it doesn't feel like it should exist. So that is my opinion on Megalopolis. Not a great movie, but oh my God, what an experience in the theater. At one point, I got up to go to the bathroom. My daughter was watching with me. I come back and she whispers, "I would tell you what you missed, but I don't know what you missed." And I was like, all right, that's the movie, guys. So it's what a slog, what an incomprehensible.
Right.
Jay, I have
Anyway.
to say that a recommendation of it was an intolerable slog of a movie, but you should go watch it is not a review.
That they should put that in the blurb. Incomprehensible slog. Jay Black, the TV show.
I've never seen anything like it, guys. I've never spent 2 hours
Anyway.
in the theater watching that.
They made 130 million to make the movie. It made 4 million in its
Yeah.
first
Wow.
week. That is
Wow.
someone is losing their shirt with Megalopolis.
They
Let me
called it
give you a review.
Megaflopolis, Angelo.
All right,
Megaflopolis.
here's what we're telling you to check out this week. Mr. McMahon, unbelievably good on Netflix. The Simpsons, if you want to watch it, for the last 812 years, it's been on Fox Sundays at 8. You could always say it there. If you really want to hear Tom Brady do a game, just check out the best NFC game every week on Fox. He's their #1 analyst. If you would like something for the British, or I guess this was Australian, Mystery Road on Acorn. High Potential is on Hulu. It is really good. Don't watch it on the network because you got to go through the commercials. You don't want to do that. If you would like to see something great in the rom-com genre, new series just out this week. Nobody Wants This on Netflix. Charlie Hustle will tell you all you need to know about Pete Rose. That's a documentary on Max. And Megalopolis is in theaters now, but not for long.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us. As always, go visit our wonderful sponsor, Steven Singer at IHateStevenSinger.com. Check out Angelo Cataldi's book, Loud, available both on AngeloCataldi.com and fine booksellers everywhere. Please rate and review us on iTunes. And if you can, Send us some fan mail. We read all of it. Some of you are regular fan mailers now, and honestly, we really appreciate it. It helps us figure out what to do on the show, and we will be back next week, everyone. Thank you.
If you have the wine,